guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing really well. In this video, I'm going to show you my custom-made acoustic panels that have movie posters on the outside. I'm going to show you from start to finish exactly how I did it, coming up with the original concept as well as designing in Photoshop. And you don't really need Photoshop, but Photoshop really helps because you can get pixel perfect with the dimensions. And then how I went through the process of sourcing a manufacturer to print them onto the fabric for me. I needed acoustic transparent fabric, but something that still looked quite bright and vibrant. So I managed to find a really good local printer, which I will leave links in the description down below to that company. If you're in Australia, it will really help you, but I'm not sure about overseas. I'm sure there's plenty overseas that can do it, but if you're in Australia, this is a local company that was really affordable. They did everything for me, including cutting the edges of the posters with a hot knife and laying it all out, making sure, sending me proofs that were really good to deal with. So yeah, I'm gonna leave links to them down in the description below, and I'd be really curious to see what you guys think. But first, if you like the video, remember to drop a like on it. It really helps me out. Consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification so that you'll be notified when I upload the next video. Right, I'm keen to show you this one, so let's get into it. I had always planned on doing the acoustic treatment in my home theatre, but I kept putting it off while I focused on other projects. I didn't want to cheapen the look of the room, which I was going for a clean, minimal look, using spongy foam that you can buy from pretty much anywhere, and as I'd already made up some custom printed foam boards, I thought it might be possible to do the same thing on fabric and make my own movie poster acoustic panels. So I started the research of trying to find a local manufacturer who would be approachable enough for me to discuss the project with, and I found Digital Fabrics based in Sydney, who were able to send me a sample pack of fabrics so that I could work out the look and the feel, as well as making sure that the sound could go through it. After some back and forth between myself and the manufacturer, I decided on the Demi, which was 159 GSM, which refers to the thickness and is 100% polyester. This means that there is a bit of stretch in the fabric as well as giving a nice bright print while still being acoustically transparent. We worked out that we could print two posters side by side, which would save on the printing costs as it's done per lineal meter. So I made the dimensions of the poster enough to fit two side by side, with some black trim around the outside to allow for pulling around the frame and stapling it onto the back. So I headed into Photoshop to make up my template. Using the ruler tool, I marked up some guides. The first step was to divide the 147 centimeters into two, which is 73.5, and mark up the guides. I then made an allowance of 10 centimeters for the stretch around the side of the wooden frame, which is 64 millimeters, and I have a bit left over to staple to the back. Next I went to moviemania.io, which is a website that showcases fan art for movies and TV series, which have had the titles removed from them. They are very high resolution, more than enough for the print to look good, so you need to make your resolution 300 dpi. As a point of reference, your screen's resolution is 72 dpi, so printing requires a lot more detail. Once I had selected the images I wanted, I brought them into Photoshop and manipulated both the image and the guides so that everything fit nicely. I exported them as high-resolution JPEGs and uploaded them to the printing company's server. Once I received the proofs, I signed off and waited for them to be printed and sent. During this time, I went to my local Bunnings hardware store and purchased the pine lumber, some wood screws, and some 3M Command Velcro tabs for affixing to the wall. I started by measuring and cutting the timber down to the correct size once I had taken in the allowances of the thickness of the timber for the top piece and the bottom piece of the frame. I used some right-angle clamps to hold them into place while I pre-drilled and countersunk each hole and then screwed them in. I didn't need any bracing or glue as these frames were very rigid. I had planned on making some corner braces, but I just didn't need them. Once I had made my 4 frames, I cut down some of my acoustic insulation material into size so that it was ready to put into the frames once I had the posters stapled on. For this I got my wife's help, as the next part was definitely not my area of expertise, and she was able to get the posters very close to perfect in stapling them down. Thankfully my measurements were spot on and the allowances that I'd made worked when stretching the fabric. It's not 100% perfect, but it's pretty close to it, and in the dark room you really don't see it. She did a great job in folding the corners so from the sides you don't see any fold marks at all. Once all 4 posters were attached to the frames, I inserted all of the insulation material and cut some of the fabric which was left over from another project, which was acoustically transparent, down to size, and stapled them over the back. I didn't do quite as nice a job as my wife did, but neat enough to hold everything in place. I trimmed any excess and then stapled the 3M Velcro tabs to the back. These were overrated for the weight, and I'm confident that they'll hold in the long term. So far they still haven't fallen down. Next I worked out roughly where I wanted them, and with the wife's help we lined them up and stuck them to the wall. Before I stuck them down, I did do some brief, non-scientific testing to see where they sounded better, but I do plan on making some more panels with the leftover timber and acoustic insulation, just using black fabric and filling in the remaining spaces. I ran some quick tests of my favourite movies, and even with just the 4 panels I noticed a huge difference. I felt like I could tell where the sounds were coming from far better than previous times, and I'm very used to how my theatre sounds, and the sounds were cleaner, crisper, and overall it was just a much sharper listening experience. I'm planning on building 2 sound diffusers which I'll be showing in an upcoming video. I've already purchased the timber and have plans already drawn up, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're interested in seeing how those turn out. Once I get those installed, as well as the remaining acoustic panels, I'm sure it will sound even better. Righto guys, I'll roll a quick montage of the posters and the room itself so you can get a feel for how they look in my theatre before providing my final thoughts. Righto guys, thanks for watching the video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I have left links to some of the things that I've used in this video. I can tell you that even though I've only put 4 acoustic panels at this stage, it has made a huge difference. I can't emphasize that enough. It's not the placebo effect, because I basically took them down, played the same thing, put them back up, and I tell you, the one thing that I noticed, because obviously I've had this theatre for a few months now and I'm used to the way that the sound bounces around the room, I can tell you that the one thing that I noticed after putting these panels up is that I felt that I could actually hear the direction that the sounds were coming from. And it's not something that you notice until you've done it, because before I thought it sounded great. Although people with better ears than mine have pointed out in my previous videos in the comments section that there seems to be a bit of echo in this room. So obviously that's what's, you know, prompted me to do this. Obviously I wanted to do acoustic treatment in this room. I kind of put on the back burner because I had other things that I wanted to do. But once I was getting comments, and when I realized, I'm like, you know what, this probably does have some echo. I probably should fix it. And I tell you, like, everyone that's got acoustic panels would be going, duh, we know this. But for someone that was quite happy with how the room sounded, when I put these up, it just made a huge difference. I just noticed that I could hear the sounds clearer. And of course it sounds obvious, but I guess it's degrees. I suppose when I add more acoustic panels, because you can see I have spaces here still that are probably reflecting some of the sound, Once I add more acoustic panels, which I plan on doing because as you can see in the video, I have a lot more insulation. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make non-poster related, just black cloth, and I'm basically going to make them, and I'm going to fill in some of the spaces, as well as on my back wall, I'm going to make diffuser panels. In fact, if you looked in the video, you would have noticed that I had some of these 4x4 really nice treated pine that I'm going to use to make diffusers. I've got enough to make two 50, I think they're 50x50 panels, which will be going on the back wall to scatter the sound. It's just the research I've been doing that it's good to have a mixture of sound absorption and also the diffuser as well. So I really want to do those. They're going to be nice. I'm making a video right now about that, and if you subscribe to the channel, you'll be notified when that video comes available, which I'm thinking will be within about a week. So guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and you'll catch me in the next video. Bye for now.